everybody. Welcome to Hallmarkies podcast. And today is very exciting. We have our spoiler-free mini little review / little discussion about Bridgerton season 3. And we are going to be doing the full deep dive into the first 4 episodes. We're going to be recording that. Me and Natasha and Anne are going to record that this weekend. So that will be coming next week. But we thought we'd give you something. Something for Thursday when the first 4 episodes launch season 3. And yes. I'm from Critic Rachel and Manda's here.
Hi, I'm so excited. Thank you for asking me to come on and do this with you. We've been bonding over Bridgerton the past couple of months, so it's been great.
Yeah, because we got the first 6 episodes as critics, and you're really one of my only friends who got it. So it was like, what do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, I was like, because you have to share something.
Yeah, you do.
No way, there's no way you can keep that inside whatsoever. So, oh my God, I lost my mind. So bless you, Rachel, for being there. It was perfect.
Yeah. And I think this is your first time on Hallmarkies podcast, which is very exciting.
Yay!
So welcome.
Yay! Oh my God, that makes me so happy. Yeah. That's great.
So are you a big Bridgerton fan, would you say, going into this?
Yes. So the thing that sold me on the first season, because I didn't read any of the books until Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. So I knew nothing.
Right.
So what sold me was that I was a massive fan of Gossip Girl. So they kind of marketed this is going to be the Regency era Gossip Girl with Lady Whistledown. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so in. And then I just fell in love with the first season. And then the second season is just absolute perfection.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't a big fan of Queen Charlotte. That was disappointing to me. I didn't like that. But the actual seasons based on the books, I really enjoyed both of them, and the first season was so refreshing to me. It was something different. I love my Regency shows and movies. I love and books. I love Jane Austen. I love this kind of things, but this was different, especially the first season, because it was such a show that celebrated female sexuality and desire in a really escapist way that I had never quite seen like it. Because we had, there's something like Outlander, which is, a great show and can be very hot. But it also is just a little bit more gritty, a little bit more real, than anything they try to tackle.
It's true.
And just every part of Bridgerton is escapism. That's why I didn't like Queen Charlotte, because all of a sudden it's trying to deal with these very weighty themes. And it was a true that part's a true story, so I kind of get it, but it just wasn't what I was wanting. And so I think it's just such a special show.
It is it's just pure magic. The entire cast, they all love each other so much, and you can see that. I think what is so amazing is that it feels like going home with each season, because there's always one character that you can connect to the most. There's always one character that you love the most, and it's you're part of the Bridgerton family. And I haven't felt that with many shows. So to have something like this early on too, sometimes you'll be in the 4th or 5th season and you have to kind of break into I don't want to say the fandom, but yes, the fandom, the fans, you have to break into it and stuff like that. But to start something so fresh with Netflix, with Bridgerton in season 1 was just so special. And it just feels like going back home with these characters.
Yeah, and I think being a book reader, it makes it even richer experience, because there's just so much. For example, in again, this no spoilers, but Francesca has an arc in this season. She's one of the Bridgerton daughters, and I can see, if you're a non-reader, being kind of underwhelmed with her plot this season, but because I know kind of where it's all heading, and that this is not endgame, this relationship, I I'm like, I get it. I totally get what they did.
Yeah, because you had to give her something to like for her debut. So I understand that like they had to do something with that. But it also applies to like a storyline like Benedict as well. Which is awesome. So like again, like I only read Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. I know like a little bit of like where each character head goes and stuff. So it's like it's not spoilery. That I've obviously seen what happens in each book. I had to do research on it for articles and stuff like that. So I still think that reading it in context is so much more powerful than just hearing like so and so is going with this person or something like that, or this person's coming in. So I think it's just a different feeling.
And if you want to hear my ranking of the books, and we have an episode of me and Natasha ranking all of the books, and I like all of the books. There's not a clunker in there, in my opinion, for the 8 main Bridgerton books. But
I'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the new book from Harpeth Road Publishing and best-selling author Nancy Nagel, The Law of Attraction. Whitney Winters and her sister-in-law Karina are thrust into the limelight when it's the national news that a number of their former clients have fallen in love after their respective divorces. To keep their jobs, Whitney and Karina must juggle their newfound fame and their clients' misadventures in love while attempting to preserve the law firm's reputation. But their efforts aren't without distractions. Whitney begins to fall for charming artist Matthew McMahon, her complete opposite. Meanwhile, Karina wonders if all the time she's putting into her career is shortchanging her marriage. Will the sisters-in-law get more than they can handle, especially when happily ever afters aren't really in their job descriptions? A swoony romantic jaunt that's as feel-good as your mama's apple pie. If you enjoyed the TV movies based on Nancy's books and are searching for more heartwarming romance, look no further. You can pick up The Law of Attraction today wherever you purchase your books, or use the affiliate link below, or go to harpethroad.com. That's harpethroad.com.
As far as this season, let's talk about it. Overall, what did you think of the 6 episodes? Overall, what was your feeling?
I did enjoy it. I thought the writing was really strong. I think each season has better writing than the last. I do think that there are some aspects that people will question just because of how many things they put into the season. With different storylines. I think it's always going to feel overstuffed because as a book reader, like I just read the book and it's like Colin and Penelope's story, right? So then in contrast to what they're building up for the series, it's so different in what they have to incorporate in a season. So I think that like people are going to feel a bit off about that, or else I really enjoy like every second of it.
Yeah. I loved it, especially our main romance, which is the main point. I think that Polin, Penelope, and Colin were extremely swoon-worthy. Their will they, won't they, I particularly, I just thought Luke was so good as Colin. He is like definitely. Well, I mean, Anthony was pretty smoldering, but he was also really smoldering.
I don't know what they did to Luke. Like, I was just like, what are you doing, my guy? Like, I was just
like
blown
you felt
away.
the yearning. Oh my gosh.
Like, you know what? And like they had to do that for Colin because Penelope has been sitting at that window for so long that I'm like, yes, make him pine for her. It was just so, because he brought so much like sensitivity and like it was such an emotional performance too that you really felt that. Oh my God. I just bless him. Bless Luke.
She brought the right combination of insecurity, vulnerability, and strength. Like you can imagine her being Lady Whistledown and completely not believing that any of this could ever happen to her. And not really, like, there's a side of her that's it's hard for her to trust him, that he's being genuine, because she's just never experienced anything like that. She's never been doted on. She's never had anybody love her. even in her own family, she's not really loved. That's the whole reason she became Lady Whistledown. And so I think that she just hit all the right notes.
Oh, it's perfect. I think Nicola did a fantastic job as well. Like, I could watch her all day. Like, I absolutely love how charming she is. And she's so beautiful. Like, she was always beautiful, like in season 1 and season 2, but the different gowns, obviously they had to change like her hair and stuff like that. So like that transition, I'm just like, oh my God, you're even more breathtaking than season 1 and season 2. So like, I love that for her.
They were very smart. They did the glow up well, because in the early seasons they dressed her very strange. All of her dresses were pretty, but they weren't made for her figure. The Empire waist on almost all of them was too high, and so it like cut off her bust oddly, and it just made her look a little bit strange. It just didn't look like it fit, and so I think that was intentional. I think they wanted this blow up. I think they wanted this glow up to really glow up. And so that's why they did that, where like her mom had been buying her dresses previous to that. And now here she's got her own money from being Lady Whistledown. She's gonna own it. And she does. And so all of that, I think, worked perfectly. I mean, it was really exactly what I wanted. And all the iconic scenes from the book were everything that I could want. The carriage scene, the mirror scene, the first kiss, all perfect.
I literally was screaming at the television when I was like watching the carriage scene. I'm like, are you joking right now? It was perfect. Everything was perfect. Like, I was yelling because I was just like, oh my God, it's so good.
I mean, as far as negatives, I do agree that I do think that the show is overstuffed in the season. And the thing is that they had stuff that was not necessary at all. There's whole plots there's whole characters that didn't need to be in the season, that aren't in the book, or barely in the book, that they included for some reason. I have no idea why. And they just like took up space. I agree. The whole boxer plotline, we didn't Mandrake, we did not need him at all. Like, he did nothing.
I just don't understand where that entire thing is going.
It was just another character to take up space. And because it's so overstuffed, there are some characters who are you feel like are only there because they were in other seasons, but they don't really have much to do. I particularly think that Kate and Anthony are just given almost nothing. They have some pleasant scenes together, but they're given no story, really.
No. And it just bugs me. I think they were used for like comedic purposes throughout, because there's some scenes where I'm like, yeah, you're just there for this, but also like you're Viscount and Viscountess. So there should have been way more. Like, there should have been, I agree. I think that's what bothers me the most.
There's really no story for them. And
it's like, we love them. So why are we not like, just give them to us? I think people are going to be upset with that, to be honest.
But. And they could have done more with Eloise. They could have done more with Benedict. Benedict's plot and his love interest is like a total waste. I did not care about her at all. There's nothing interesting about that.
It almost feels repetitive for Benedict. They gave him nothing to kind of propel him forward either.
It just feels like the opera singer, and Anthony's with the opera singer in season 1. Like, it was just like a filler waiting for the season. It's nothing. So it just is like, I don't think that they needed. I was just kind of almost always waiting for them to get back to our main couple, because a lot of it just wasn't interesting.
That's true. It's a lot. It's a big chunk too, because I just felt like, it's hard because we're giving a very balanced view of this right now, because we can love Penelope and Colin's story, and how it's executed. But then there's like missing pieces, and things could have been cut down, could have been rearranged. Like, we're also saying that because,
well, I was just surprised because in the book, like, Daphne has like a pretty decent role, and like the whole ball is at Daphne, is put on by Daphne. She has this big scene with Polin where she basically is like, are you in love with her? You know, kind of like has the role. So I thought, okay, since Daphne's on this season, they're going to have Anthony take over that role, but they don't. No,
they don't, because it's also like there's some big pieces.
They kind of have Lady Violet take over the role a little bit, but yeah, they don't. They just kind of have Anthony and Kate like there to be cute in a couple scenes, but no story. There's no real story.
It's really sad, because I think my favorite aspect of the book was Penelope's relationship with Lady Danbury.
Oh yeah,
I loved that. Yeah, so that was actually really upsetting to me, because I was looking forward to that the most from the book, and I was like, oh, they kind of sprinkled it off to other people, and I was like, that's a choice.
Yeah. So I think what's good is so good. Like the Penelope and Polin stuff is so good, and their chemistry is so good, and all of their scenes are so good. And most of the other stuff is like pleasant enough. It just feels a little overstuffed.
Yeah, and it kind of drags at times too, because you're like, okay, can we just let's keep it moving? And they stay on certain characters for too long that I'm like, let's go. Let's keep going. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the take on it, is that it's really, when it works, it really works, and incredible chemistry, really great main relationship, and then it's a little overstuffed. So yeah,
like every Bridgerton season. I mean, it's like the same. Everyone says the exact same thing, and it's true. Like, season 2 was overstuffed, season 1 was overstuffed. Like,
but especially this one, because they have so many characters they're trying to juggle. It was almost probably a blessing that they didn't have Daphne and Simon this season, because I don't think they would have really had anything for them to do.
No, not really.
Yeah. It does also help that if you've read the books, because especially with Francesca, I think it helps. Or at least if you know what's going on with her story, it helps to kind of put it in perspective.
Yeah, I adored her. I was just so obsessed with her after watching, because she's so different from the rest of her siblings that I fell in love with like her. I'm like, I want to protect you for the rest of my life, because that's how Francesca is. Like, I was just so happy for her to be included now.
Yeah. And I think that the secret standout for this season is Hyacinth. She was so great. I loved her so much.
Her. She's a little legend. We love her. We love her.
Yeah. She's great. So there we go. That's our thoughts. Quick thoughts on Bridgerton season 3. Let us know what you think when you binge those 4 episodes. And like I said, we're going to have the full deep dive into those 4 episodes that we'll record this weekend for next week. So let us know what you think. And we have tons of Bridgerton content on the podcast. We got our preview, me and Natasha. We talked a lot about the books in that preview. So if you want more Bridgerton content, check that out. We also have the book ranking. We have our recap of season 2. All kinds of fun stuff. So check that out. And Manda, where can people find you?
Yeah, you guys can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can check out my website, candidxcinema.com, and my YouTube, Candid Cinema.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group and merch store. So check that out. And thanks so much. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.